guys, today I'd like to show you what I do for basic cleaning and maintenance of my Sabatti 12 gauge over and under shotgun. This is my basic field strip, a little bit more than a field strip. I also will show you how I take care about the ejectors and all that. And I personally do that with my gun after every time I shot it. It's not necessarily so important to do it after every time you shot it, but you should keep in mind when you shoot black powder cartridges, or if you shoot old corrosive milsurp ammunition, or if you or if you are on a hunt or you are on an outdoor range and it is very cold outside, like you have 10 degrees or whatever, and you come back into your home and you have room temperature, you got condensation inside the gun, and you should also make sure to clean that out and make sure your gun is dry and oiled a little bit, especially if you want to store it for a longer time in your cabinet or your safe or whatever you use. And yeah, so you should do that every couple hundred rounds, or if you want to, like I do it, after every time I shoot, because sometimes I don't know when I'll use the gun again. So yeah. In terms of equipment, you don't need that much to clean and maintain a shotgun. Ballast Tool offers a really nice pack of 3 different oils and bore cleaners and all that, and I put a lot of other stuff in there already. So some sort of, cloth, towel type of thing, some kitchen paper. Then I have guage for removing all types of powder residue and soap. Robla Solo, this is like a bore scrub, which also removes lead and copper fouling. For the shotgun I'll also use just a brass brush. And you'll need a very small punch. This is like a millimeter punch. I'll have a box what that is in American standard system. And yeah, maybe some Q-tips. And for your barrels, this is a set that cost me like 14 bucks, and it's just a cleaning rod and a nylon, a brass and a cotton brush for your bore. And for lubrication, what I will be using is Lupus Professional PTFE High-Tech Teflon Gun Grease, which is really good. It's pretty expensive. This one cost 14 euros, which is like equivalent of $16 to $18. But this stuff is really, really good. Highly recommended. But you can use something cheaper, like for example, ball bearing grease works really good. So yeah, that's basically all you need. A couple of things to say. Especially the nylon brush is going to spray black sooty oil everywhere, so you don't want to be anywhere near something that you don't want to have like oil and black soot on. Make sure you don't have any important documents laying around, and unless you wear work clothes. I have on very bright clothes today, so I put on an apron. And make sure you stay away from walls and all that, because you're gonna get a lot of oil spray everywhere. So that's why I have that towel here, and I got some kitchen paper on the floor. First step is break the gun, take out the snap caps or dummy rounds. If you have any live ammo anywhere around, put it away. That's always a good safety tip. Never have live ammo laying around when you work on your guns, because that's a recipe for disaster. Close the action again. The front end has this tab, pull it down. This removes the front end. Now you can remove the barrels. And you have your gun in 3 parts. The breech with the shaft. You got your 2 barrels, and you got the front end. And that's all you need to do. There is a lot of very fine mechanics and all that, springs and hammers and all that stuff in here, you don't usually want to try to open this up and start messing around in there. This does not need to be cleaned, at least not in like, you know, maybe every couple of years you might want to get that to a gunsmith for maintenance or something, but this is not going to be subject of the video. No, this is just going to be basic cleaning and maintenance. So yeah, you got your 3 parts, and now I'll zoom in a little bit closer and show you how I clean them. So first of all, I remove the ejectors, because I find it a lot easier than to clean the barrels and all that, and you sometimes want to get like gunk also out underneath the ejectors. There's like a lot of carbon residue building up all here, which is not that bad, because you know they are gonna function even when they are pretty dirty, because they have a lot of tolerance. But I like to take them out and clean everything, especially if I store the gun for a longer time. So you take a small punch, you go into that little hole here, you press down and you press the ejector backwards, and then you pull down this tab a couple of millimeters, which releases your ejectors. Be careful, because both are spring loaded. What I press down is a little pin inside here that holds this piece in place, and it already happened to me that when you pull that out all the way, you know, the thing goes fly away. So you always want to like have a piece of towel over that, and also make sure, because those are also spring loaded, so make sure they don't just fly out. You know, always be, you know, hold your thumb on it or have some towel over it. So yeah, it's basically 3 parts. You have your ejector, and you can see, yeah, they are very clean actually. No spring and the guide rod. Same thing on the other side. Press down, pull that out of the way. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to do that. It's a lot easier if you take the tension off. That's a little bit ghastly. This. Yeah, so that's how the ejector comes out. Now you can take these out too. Very careful. You know, those. You got this little spring here, but that's not necessary to take out really, so I'll put it back in. Just make sure you don't lose that little pin thingadoo. Okay, so now the ejectors are out and you have a lot nicer work surface. So then I like to put the barrels into my vise with very soft leather jaws. Never put it in just, you know, steel jaws, because that's gonna damage your barrels. And just put it in very lightly to just hold them in place, like this. And that's already enough. I have a little bit of kitchen paper underneath, because there's gonna be stuff running out of the barrels. And I'm taking some gun eggs and just spraying down the face here, spraying everything everywhere where there's like old grease, because that's gonna take it off. You can also spray the ends of the barrel, like the front end of the barrel. You're gonna be wanting to wipe that down too. And now this is an ammonia-based bore scrub called Roblazolo, also by Ballistol, and that's gonna remove everything inside the bore, not just, you know, the carbon, but it's also gonna remove any lead or copper fouling in the barrel, which I don't expect with my shotgun with the type of ammo I'm shooting, but just to show you. So, taking my cleaning rod and a nylon brush. Oh, and the ammonia stuff is really heavy in your face. It's not quite like pepper spray, but it, you know, it hits you pretty heavily. So the nylon brush is just to distribute the bore scrub evenly inside the bore. And just run it through a couple of times. Twist it when you go out so you have like even coverage. So yeah, I can now let this soak into the barrel. Before I continue with the barrels, what I'll do now is, you can actually see it already. On this one I just take the breech face, let's spray that down a little bit here and let that soak in. And this area here, spray that down a little bit, and I can go with the ejectors, spray those down. So now, depending on how dirty they are, you can just let it sit for a little while, but because they are very clean, I only shot like 50 rounds through this today, so it's not that much. You know, take a brush, start scrubbing down. Yeah, and this is, you know, not very dirty at all. Make sure to remove the old grease. I'll show you where to grease the gun, and it's very important that when you grease it, you make sure that there's no dust or sand caught in the grease, because that's going to be really abrasive and that's going to really harm your gun. So you always want to make sure the greased parts are clean, otherwise you're going to really damage your gun. So now I'm taking a little bit of kitchen paper and just wiping everything off. Getting all soot and carbon and dust out, removing any old greases. And if there are areas that are hard to reach, you can take a Q-tip and just go down there. Can you actually see this? Yeah, you can. Scrub down here through everything. You can see there is, although this gun only had 50 rounds through it, it's all coming off black already. So the most important parts is like on the breech face is obviously the breech face, and also here all this locking mechanism here. I don't know the English, you know, specific technical terms for all of this, but basically, you know, you want this to be as clean as possible, because that's where, you know, all the movement is, and if there is like grit in there, it's gonna really damage the gun over use. This also needs to be extremely clean if you take the gun apart very often. So now I had the barrels soak in a little while, and I am changing to the metal brush, which is gonna scrub out and solve everything that's not supposed to be in the barrel. Just insert it out, give it a little turn. Make sure to have the chamber clean. Scrub it down a couple of times. As I said, this is not very dirty, and the way, you know, the ammo and all that, I don't get any fouling of lead or copper or anything in there. Make sure to do both barrels, of course. If you shoot both barrels, get a nice scrub. Take your brush and brush all this. Ejectors go here, down here. As I said, this is the most important part besides the inside of the barrel. Ooh, that's good. Just popped out the retention for the ejectors. Okay. So now that I scrubbed barrels, I'm taking a cotton brush, and I'm just cleaning out everything. This one you will have to scrub down with kitchen paper. There you can see what is coming out of the barrel. Scrap that. Just have a ball of this. Taking the barrels out, and I'm also wiping off everything here. Wipe off the face here. Okay, so once you are happy with how clean it is, what you can do is look down the barrels into a light source and make sure they are nice and clean. There are no residues or fouling or anything left in there. And you also don't want excessive oil in there, you know. If you store your barrels, like if you store your gun for a longer time, you want to put a little bit of oil or grease inside the barrel. If you shoot it very often, you don't want to put any oil in there, and before you shoot you want to make sure to remove the oil, because it's gonna decrease your accuracy quite a lot. And with shotguns it's not that important. With rifled barrel it's a lot more important, but some people claim even in shotguns, if you got oil in the barrel, you missed the first clay pigeons or real birds. I don't know what of that is true. I'm wiping down the ejectors now. Like this. And make sure the springs are not clogged up with anything. Okay, now for the lubrication part, I'm taking the gun grease and putting a little bit down here on the ejectors, here and there, not too much, and you'll have to figure out which way they go in. This one is going to be the one on this side. First of all, remember to put your spring back in, with the guide rod of course, and sure this is not in the way, out of the way. This spring is inside, this one is lubed. Oh wait, that's the wrong side. I was making this one here. No. In this position you have your ejector disabled. No, that's actually the correct position. In this position it's disabled. Now it's just an extractor, and if it's in that position it's working like the ejector. Other side. Spring back in. Like this. Very simple. Now on the rest of the gun you want to put grease here. That is very important that you put grease here. The fore end connects with the rest of the gun. And in here you want to put grease right where these round things are, where the two parts go together and swing. Every time you break it open, you make sure that this is clean and well lubricated. Also on here you can see the counterparts, these half moon shaped parts there. This is where it rotates around, so here put a little bit of grease like these, here and here. And if you see some scratches somewhere, you know there's like steel scratching on steel, so you want to lubricate that a little bit. Okay, and that's basically it. Now you can put the halves back together like this. Put the front end back on like that, and now you can check it for function. Put your snap caps in, close it, shoots, open it, ejectors work. See, the barrels are clean, the action is smooth, working good. Just tested the ejectors. So now, closing the gun, I'm decocking the gun, putting it on safe, and can take some fresh towel, make sure my hands are clean, and just wipe any stuff that's left on the gun from the cleaning. the outside. And wipe it down. Okay, that's it. Now you can store it back and use it next time you want to. You know, as I said, this is just the basic way I do it, and most people in my gun club do it, and what gunsmiths told me how to do it. How often you do it and how you do it is up to you, and the firearm your own. I just found that for this gun it works pretty well. And if you have some tips on cleaning or experiences, share it in the comments, and thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!